120 singles. He's still going strong, celebrating 40 years. It's incredible. Sir Cliff Richard is here. It's lovely to see you.
It's nice to see you too.
And I really should call you Black Knight.
Well, yes, you should, really. I mean, that's my new, I think I should just go out as Black Knight now.
Yeah, because this was a great idea that you had. I mean, just, you put the single out under the name Black Knight and stuck it out to various
Yes,
stations.
when you put out what they call a white label, you're not supposed to put your name on it anyway. And of course, I was trying to prove a point, saying that if we just listened to music,
yep.
It doesn't really matter how old, how young, what colour you are. You either like a record or you don't. And it did prove my point, because I suddenly found myself being played on all these black radio stations and even being in their sort of charts and everything. And as I say, it was just to prove a point, really.
And you really did. You really
Well,
showed
it goes to
up.
show that all of us have soul, and that presented in a particular way, it can appeal to anybody. So that someone like myself, who's obviously a white man, I know they call it blue-eyed soul,
yeah.
but the song obviously appealed to a lot of people, and of course that's great credit to the writer, that in fact his song, as sung by me, could appeal to both black and white people, and
No,
I was really rather thrilled with that.
It's really, really good. Of course you look ridiculously wonderful, it goes without saying, but you do, I mean, do you have to work really hard at it? Tell me you don't. Were you lucky?
Well, no, I'm partly lucky, I guess, but you can't be lucky when it comes to the shape of your body. You have to work a little bit at that, you know, particularly men, I think. Well, maybe women as well. There comes that age when if you're not careful about what you eat, if you're not careful about how little or much you exercise, everything does just fall off on the bed beside you. And
well, it hasn't, that's for sure. I'll tell you what, I love your hair.
well, thank you, yeah.
It's really sort of George Clooney-esque. It's very good.
Yes, I mean, there's nothing new in this planet at all. It's only new because I've got it. I've never had hair like this, although when I look back at some old photographs, there was a period when I was very close to this length of hair. But it suits me at the moment.
It does.
I like it.
Fabulous.
And it's easy to do.
Well, you must just wake up and do that.
I did, yeah.
And you don't have to bother, which is lovely. We've been really enjoying seeing a sneaky look around your place in Portugal. It's great. And you were saying there, you were talking to Helen, and you were saying there that you might have your own wine, you know, your own sort
Yes.
I mean, it's very...
I mean, it's a 30-acre farm, and there's probably about 18 acres will eventually be turned over and put under vines. And it means I won't have a massive amount of wine. And if the wine is sort of good to excellent,
yes,
I shall put my name to it.
Yes.
And if it's not, I'll put someone else's name.
Well, it's great though, and you've kept it. But what I really like about it is you haven't sort of tried to make it a little bit of Britain. You know, it's very much of the country where it's from. Which is
Well, I like being in Portugal, and it's the Algarve in particular. It's almost like you go back 100 years, and you got the mod cons though as well.
Yeah.
And the house has a history. That the main part of the building is probably 200 years old. It's an old farmhouse. And then a little extension was put on, a big extension was put on. And I thought, I'll keep it the way it is. All the wooden shutters are a real pain though, folks. You know, they have to be painted every year. They fall apart very easily. And I know some people say, no, let them fall apart. It looks good. But when you own a shutter and it's falling apart, the first thing you do is mend it.
Of course you do.
So
why Portugal? Why did you decide on that?
Well, I didn't decide on it. The now late Peter Gormley, who was my manager at the time, way back in the early 60s, 60, 61, went over there, loved it so much, actually bought 6 houses, one for himself, 2 for Leslie Grade, the agent, 1 for me, 1 for Frank Irefield, and 1 for Bruce Welsh of the Shadows. And we went over, had a look at it. Yeah, we went over, had a look at it.
Did you get a discount? Get one for nothing?
Well, I think it was a job lot, yeah.
That's great.
But it was great.
And the good thing about it is you can just go there, you go around the shops, nobody bothers you, nobody sort of pesters you for autographs,
Well,
you can just be yourself.
I can't help, you know, I have to recognize that when I go out anywhere, really, I'm going to get recognized by somebody. But on the whole, if you're regularly in a place and you go out regularly, you get bothered less and less, you know. At first people go, oh, look, there he is.
Yeah,
then they say, oh, here he is again.
Yeah.
And that's rather nice, really. I like that.
Good. And 40 years, for goodness sake. Well, can't believe it's 40 years in showbiz, which is wonderful. What are you doing as for a big celebration? Well,
the celebration started earlier in the year. I thought I'd do a tour, and I started in New Zealand, I went to Australia, and now I'm going to do a series of concerts at the Albert Hall next month, and then I'm going back to the Albert Hall in March to complete. They didn't have all the days I needed together, so I'm having to do
That must be a nice position to be in.
Well, it is nice, yeah. I'm doing 20 concerts in November/December, and then I'm doing another 12 in March, and then I'll go to Europe. So I will have seen all my fans who have remained loyal over the years, hopefully shared that 40th year with all of them.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's really good. And it's great to see you. I wish I could talk to you more, but we do want you to perform for us.
Okay.
It's the new single, and I do like that the video of the new single is great. The outfits and everything.
Filmed in Portugal. Which is a nice way to be filmed. Daylight. I thought daylight was rather cruel lighting at one time, but as I've got older, I find that daylight's actually much easier on us. We look much nicer in broad daylight.
You look great, and it's lovely
you.
to see you. And
Thank
here's
you.
to the next 40 years, eh?
Well,
Yeah.
well, I will if you will.
Well, listen, toddle off to our wonderful studio.
Thank you.
And we'll hear the new one. It's called Can't Keep This Feeling In. Cliff is going to perform it for us right now, and it's going to be in the top 10, I would think. No problem at all. Here he is. Wonderful. Wonderful. Isn't he great? Cliff Richard, fantastic. Right, time for another short break now. We'll be right back with the results.